Welcome back, everybody. Congratulations, Eric.
Thank you. Sweet.
No, you should feel good. That was a pretty tough matchup. Chris pushed you all the way up against the wall.
Yeah, the first four matches all were kind of crazy. My draws were really good in the first couple, and actually really good in the third one too. I think I got really unlucky to lose with Doomsday, considering how good my draws were. Not that, you know, I'm not sure that the luck was evened out or or who was the luckier one, but I mean, I basically had a turn one set up to kill him, and he had double Force of Will, where I had Force of Will and Mental Misstep backup. So thought I was in great shape, but he had the perfect hand to foil me.
Yeah, he top decked the Force of Will on his first turn. Like his initial hand had the misdirection and a misstep, but the Force of Will came off the top on the one draw phase he got.
All right, well, so I was gonna win, but that didn't work out, and
Essentially.
yeah, had some rough luck with the in match four. I don't know that my game three hand was interesting. It was a tough decision with no lands and Lotus. If I draw a land, I just win kind of easily, and I had a couple turns, but
Yep.
not get there at all ever. I drew the worst card in my deck on turn one and turn two, so like, all right, well, guess we're going to five.
Now talk to me about the logic behind choosing the Delver deck for match 4 and match 5. Walk me through your thought process.
Both matches, I and like he started the match on Moto, and I had to join it. And both
Right.
times I started with shops, and then I'm like, no, I think I just want to play Delver. The problem with shops is I feel like I'm playing the deck really well, but at the same time, the decision points are so early on. Um, it's basically turn one decision point, sometimes turn two. Rarely is there a lot to decide after that. It's kind of whatever comes. And I really like the way I've been playing Magic, and I want as many opportunities to make decisions and have them matter as possible. And so I really thought Dredge was a good choice for this set, but I just didn't want to. Like, I thought I'd be very favored, but the problem is that you just really don't get to play that much. And that was the reason I chose not to play it. It wasn't because the deck was O10 or cursed or anything like that. I just wanted to play decks where I felt like there was a good chance that I could play. I'm really happy with how I'm playing, and anytime me and my opponent both have blue cards, unless maybe against Luis Scott Vargas if he's feeling good, I feel like I really like my chances. And so, yeah, I thought I was really well set up for the mirror. I have four lightning bolts. I have, pretty lean deck, and not a lot of cards that I'm not happy to have, and could board in sudden shock. And to Blue Mirror, I really thought that he was playing very passively in match four when we had the Delver Mirror. Wasn't attacking with Pyromancer
Oh,
tokens,
right, right, right.
which gave me a chance, I think, to win that game if I had drawn a land over the many turns I had,
Mm-hmm.
because he wasn't attacking. And so that factored in a little bit, where if he's going to choose Delver, I already feel like I have a bit of a deck advantage. I feel like I can play a little bit better, and I felt like if he was going to be passive, it was going to give me enough of an advantage that it was better than the other choices. And so I entered the match with Shops and then closed it and re-entered with Delver.
Oh, wow. Now, were there any other decks you thought about bringing to the finals in general? You brought Shops, Delver, and Doomsday, which seemed like excellent choices, but I'm just curious if there were anything else you thought about.
I, I thought about so many decks. My account is so flooded in decks. Like, there wasn't anything that I gave serious consideration to. I don't really get the opportunity to play test as much as I might like, and I wasn't going to play Vargas Grixis again because I wasn't playing against Luis, and I think that takes a pretty specific metagame to be good. I kind of wanted to play a Storm deck, but there was nothing I really loved about any Storm decks that I could put together. I considered Oath because I haven't played Oath in any of, I've played 18 regular season matches in 2 seasons, and I've played, two playoff matches last year, and now I'd shown 6 different decks in playoff matches this year, so none of them have been Oath, so I strongly considered Oath, but I just think the deck's a little bit lacking. I don't think it's one of the strongest decks. I think Doomsday's the best deck. Luis wanted me to add some Dark Rituals and a Necropotent, so I'm like, well, that's kind of cool. I can do that, and so I did that. I already wanted to play Doomsday. I do think it's probably the best deck.
It's very good, for sure.
My record with shops is, I mean,
Your record with Shops is great. Now, yeah, talk to me about the Shops deck, because your take on the Shops deck was, we were starting to call it, we thought you got upset with us calling it Martello Shops, so now you wanted it to be, Ephro Shops, or I think the leading candidate right now is Frobots.
Sure. I mean, obviously, I didn't invent the theory behind the deck. It was from multiple different tournaments. It has shown up in like some small numbers and some of the Latin American communities. And Luis was considering playing it in the finals. I thought there were a lot of cards in the deck that kind of stunk, and so I changed some of the numbers. I kept calling Porcelain Legionnaire like toilet something because of the porcelain, and and because the card kind of stinks, and so trimmed some of those. There's so many like sort of fire and ices in these various lists, so I changed the deck a little bit. I added some more sphere effects, which I think are one of the big selling points to Shop's deck. Changed the sideboard pretty dramatically to reflect some of the decks I thought Chris was more likely to play. I wanted to have some null rods in case he decided to go Belcher. Not that I really need that for that matchup, but there weren't quite as many lock pieces in the deck, and it's always nice to have a card that auto wins. And yeah, I mean, I haven't lost a match with Shops. I've even playtested a bunch of matches with Shops, and I never lose with Shops. And
Yeah, I know. I was on the losing end of about 4 of those a couple of weeks ago.
yeah, and even me and Luis did a vintage challenge last year, like during season 1, and where you choose a deck and then you keep playing until you beat the other person's deck, and we both started on Shops, and I went 3-0 that time too. It's just like something about Shops I've run pretty good with, and yeah, I've made some good decisions I think with it.
Now, what did you have Chris on? What were you expecting to run into from him, and how close did that actually line up?
Merfolk for sure.
Okay.
I thought that he would play some version of Shops, but I thought it was very unlikely to be Terra Nova because he's played it now. The last 6 matches he's played with it, he's gone 1-5 in VSL,
Okay.
and I just don't think that's a good version of Shops in general, in my opinion. And so I thought there's a good chance he'd show up with Shops, but it would be a different version. And then I actually thought he'd play Mentor instead of Delver. I thought Delver was pretty high on the list because he's played so much Delver in Legacy, but I figured he talks a lot to the vintage community guys, and one of the big decks right now, everyone's kind of talking about Mentor, and I figured that would be where they would steer him. So I already had like Sudden Shock because it's good in the creature matchups, and ended up going with like Sulfur Elementals in one of my sideboards, and just
Right.
try to have a few different answers, and yeah. I didn't think he would go with any blue control decks because it sounds cocky. I just don't think he wants to play a blue control deck against me. I wouldn't want to play like a blue control deck against someone like Luis. So I understand. I just didn't think that was a big part of his range, nor is it a deck that he plays very often. And the only other deck we've seen him show up with besides Blue Belcher is the like Hate Bears Esper deck or something he played last season, which I think he was not going to consider going near again. That deck did not work out for him.
Well, congratulations, Eric. Hats off to you. We'll say congratulations to Honey as well. That's barking down there.
She's got her little cone. She had surgery. She's been doing really good. So
that's good to hear.
She hasn't gotten many appearances in VSL this year. She's had some issues and some surgery and stuff, but she's been doing really good lately. So
I'm glad to hear that. Hats off to you. You played great all season long. You obviously were the last undefeated, the first guy to clinch the playoffs, and just obliterated Luis and I to get here. Was a good match against Chris. I mean, it seemed like he pushed.
I tried to obliterate him. He wouldn't have it. I'm up like, did I win the first 4 games?
Yeah, you were up 2-0, 4-0.
I'm like 2-0, 2-0, and I've got a turn 1 kill sitting here with Force of Will, Mental Misstep back up. I'm like, this is just ridiculous. But then he had double Force of Will. I just died. My turn 1 was interesting. I ended up not playing a fetch land because I didn't want to like think too long about trying to come up with the best pile. I'm like, if I get a land, I'm 1 less card in my deck, so I can just guarantee to kill him because I didn't want to waste another turn because obviously I have double counter. So if he's got like Pyroblast Force of Will, I win.
So you chose not to play the fetch land on purpose.
Yeah, it might have been stupid though.
Luis and I were surprised because it felt like, but yeah, if you knowingly said I don't want to play a fetch land, I would rather fetch after the Doomsday pile, then okay, fair enough.
Well, Gush wasn't like it doesn't do anything at that point because I already have a 4-card library, and so Ancestral is going to put me down to 1 card, and I didn't have 2 probes in my deck. I only had 1, or else I would have. And then it wouldn't even matter. I don't really need another land. And
right. Well, I mean, if you fetch, you can put Gush in the pile, right? You can Gush plus Ancestral.
What does that do? I can't cast them both.
Yeah, fair enough.
I could just put Gush in the pile instead of probe, but then I just die to his strip mine.
Oh, but it's because you're using the draw. Yeah, and definitely the fact that he had the strip mine meant.
Right.
Look,
So if I have Gush in my pile, I just die to strip mine. Plus, I don't know what he's playing. He could just be playing a Wasteland deck. A lot of his decks, Merfolk deck can just be a Wasteland deck. And if I get Wasteland to turn 1, I don't care. I can just search out the Underground, cast Ancestral with Misstep, Force of Will backup. So if he has Misstep, Force of Will, I'm fine. And I can kill him, but that didn't work out.
As usual, Eric, you were a step ahead of most of us. Didn't always work out. Didn't work out that time, but it worked out in the end.
I don't think I could have won that game against those things, and I guess I could have sat there for a long time.
Yeah, no, your line looked. You weren't going to win that game with the way he drew out of it.
Well, I mean, I would have to know that he's got double Force of Will, and then wait for like 5 turns and try to build up a hand. Which
or throw a Flusterstorm into the pile and take more draw phases or something.
Oh, I didn't have Flusterstorm in my deck.
Oh, you had 0 Flusterstorms in your deck. Fair enough.
I didn't play any Flusterstorms main against Chris because, again, I thought Shops and a bunch of creature decks are a big part of his range. Nor is it even great against like the Belcher deck because so many of the threats are artifacts anyway. And, I ended up playing just Spell Pierces and stuff on my deck instead.
Fair enough. I think that about wraps us up for Vintage Super League Season 2. Hope you guys have enjoyed watching. Certainly, we've had a lot of fun playing. Vintage Super League will be back for Season 3 at the end of June. We've got a play-in tournament scheduled to figure out our 10th player, and then Eric will be back trying to defend his tournament title. I'll be back. Luis will be back. We will all be back. Meanwhile, starting this Tuesday, Standard Super League. We are going to have our first bracket. We'll be making our debut 2 days from now. So hopefully, here you go. Here you're going to look at the bracket. Awesome slate of players. We're going to be playing a single elim 8-man tournament every Tuesday for the next couple of months. It'll be standard format. We are going to sneak in 1 week of Modern in honor of the Modern Masters Grand Prix weekend that will be coming up a couple days afterwards. That should be awesome. I'll be back on Tuesday. Luis will be here with me as my co-host, and we hope you guys will come back and watch that. Meanwhile, for Josh Monks, for Stephen Berklet, for everybody that's helped bring you guys Vintage Super League, we hope you've enjoyed it. For Eric, for Honey, congratulations. We'll see you guys next time.